Welcome on in, folks. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and we have a surprise, another limited time event here coming to Marvel Snap for the next week. It is Avengers versus X-Men, and when they announced this to us to get ready for it, I'm like, wait, what? It's like the Valentine's one, but better, in my opinion. I think this one is a lot better. So let's dive on into it. Let's take a look at what exactly they're going to be bringing to the table with how you build your decks and what are these synergies going to look like. So during this month's imbalance patch, because the OTA is next week, don't worry, it's not being replaced. Choose a side in the Avengers versus X-Men conflict. Pick your favorite team and fill your deck with its strongest heroes and gain in-game power bonuses. So for the Avengers, fortifying a specific location with 3 teammates gives that location +3 power. That's how that one works. We'll get into more details in a second. Meanwhile, you can deploy X-Men anywhere, and once you've played 4 of them, they'll all receive additional power. The additional is singular, 1 power. They'll gain an extra power. So, couple of things with this, and big shout out and kudos to Braude for asking a ton of important questions in the creator chat that have been answered by Glenn and the dev team, looking into how this event is going to work this week. So, couple of things here. Number 1, as long as there are 3 cards that are tagged as Avengers to that location will get 3 power, similar to like an Iron Man buff. It is focusing on the location, right? You're giving Ms. Marvel's giving +4 to a location, right? It's working like that. So it's not directly assigned to a specific card at the location, but it is assigned to the location in general. With that said, if you were to have 3 and then lose 1, let's say a Killmonger comes on down, it would remove that bonus on top of it. And this goes for both Conquest as well as Ranked mode. In addition, copies and ads do count. So your multiple men are going to also count in these pieces when you're looking at how many different cards are coming out. Also, the key word here for X-Men is played. So that does mean Kitty Pryde, who comes down and is played 4 times. If you have her bounce every single turn, essentially, that does count as 4 played procs. So cards on the battlefield will affect it. Cards that are played out of your hand will affect it. Cards that are added will affect it as well. They are all in tap here with everything going on in the Avengers versus X-Men event, which will be here. We're waiting on final confirmation, but it looks like, based on the list, it's going to be for 1 week because War Machine is not on this list, but next card coming up, Cannonball, is. So here are your lists. This is who they have assigned this to. Now, let me make it really clear here before people start to freak out about why this and why not this. I mean, they just picked a few. There's not everybody, and you can make arguments for some to be there and not to be there. Like the ones that jumped out to me were Jane Foster. I'm shocked that Jane Foster isn't technically counted as an Avenger. Or others were bringing up Juggernaut. Why is Juggernaut counting as an X-Men? There's argument to be made for both. But this is the list. It's not every single card and character. So take from here what you want. So you don't have to do full decks. You can do pieces of some of these. You can take a couple of the X-Men and a couple of the Avengers. You can put them together, mix and match your synergies to make things happen. But obviously, based on what you are looking at here, you're looking at 4 plays of X-Men or 3 at the location for Avengers. So with that said, I already have for you 5 decks that are focused towards these efforts, depending on which team you are going to be siding with. And let me know down in the comments below who you are siding with in this Avengers versus X-Men battle. So let's head on over to untap.gg. I've got a couple of decks here right off the bat to get us started. First up, full Avengers. This is my favorite group of 12 in a synergetic way to play out 12 Avengers and just guarantee as many buffs as possible. I think that Iron Man is an absolute must, being that it is a location assigned specific buff. So Iron Man will then turn that 3 into 6. He is 911 in my opinion. 2 location controllers with Quake and Scarlet Witch, a little bit of control against your opponent via Echo and Shang-Chi. Ms. Marvel should be in almost every deck at this point. And then playing around with how those 1-drops come to be. That's why I put Ant-Man and Hawkeye in here to give a little bit of flexibility. Plus, Vision is just one of the top cards in the game right now, incredibly flexible. So I like this one. If you want to build a specific 12 full-on maximum potential, get your Avengers to take advantage of each other this week into a deck. This is my favorite group of 12. But if you want to make it a partial, so you can still capitalize on them, but maybe reinforce a couple of extra synergies, I now have some Avengers Assemble. We're taking out some of that Ant-Man Hawkeye-ness, and I've replaced it with Jessica Jones and Storm. And yes, I know Storm plays for the other team. However, in this instance, I think it's a very effective combination because we're also putting in Doctor Doom into this deck. So we have that lockout style play without needing to go full on into the X-Men with Professor X. So this now also then justifies putting Zabu in the deck because Iron Lad is our 4th of the 4-cost cards. And then still a little bit of a surprise element with Quake in there. Captain America on the Iron Man lane is probably your #1 target. I just thought it to be a fun group and mix to take advantage of a semi-lock-down kind of sort of big wide deck because Ms. Marvel and Doctor Doom, they're like 2 peas in a pod. But what if you are Team X-Men? Well, to me, my X-Men, here we go. This is my favorite group of 12 X-Men cards to put together into a full-on X-Men deck. Yes, it is using the brand new Season Pass Hope Summers. I think she is a very solid card for every possible reason, especially given the synergy with Kitty Pryde. That will accelerate this list. And this one also will be able to capitalize on the event a little bit differently because Cable and White Queen could be taking more cards for Team X-Men into your hand. And I like the idea of going Hope Summers into White Queen because White Queen's going to give the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. You've got an extra energy to work with. So if you draw a 6-cost card, White Queen is going to allow you after Hope Summers to play that on turn 5 if you're not locking down with Professor X. Cable, very similar synergy in that aspect. And then it's a whole lot of defense. We're ramping up with that Sunspot. We're ramping up with that Killmonger. We're trying to ramp our power with Psylocke into Professor X. And we're still doing now a lockout, lockdown style of deck. We have Storm going into Negasonic Teenage Warhead. You can Storm after on the Sunspot lane or move that Nightcrawler in there too. So control, control, control is the theme for both groups because they both have cards that are incredibly synergetic towards each other. As we go into the partials list, I'm leaning a little bit more into that evil chaos. And I like the evil chaos in particular here with Leech. Yes, the brand new Leech does make a lot of sense in this deck because we could ramp Leech out on turn 4 and both teams will be using a load of on reveals, and playing Leech down as a 4/3 in this environment is going to feel incredibly good versus what I think is a really difficult stat line for him at 5/3. But he does make sense in this deck because of the control elements that we're putting out there, allowing other cards to thrive and shine. I think that this is going to be a fun balance because you still have your Warhead in there. You still have your Professor X, which, by the way, Negasonic into a Professor X lane is always a surprise great play because they'll try to kill something very often on turn 4, get it out of the way, and then Professor X on 5. It's a very easy lane to lock and load. Dr. Doom is going to make a reappearance here because Dr. Doom and Alioth is a great turn 6 combo to decide which one you want to play or ramp out one via Hope Summers early and then put out the other later on. There's a couple of flexible plays here, but your all-stars, in my opinion, for Team X-Men are Sunspot and Kitty Pryde by a long shot. But what if you just can't decide? What if you love X-Men? What if you love the Avengers? You can have the best of both worlds and play 6 of each. And this is Assemble to me. Just take a little bit of everybody, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and run all of them together. This has 6 focused X-Men and 6 focused Avengers, trying to capitalize on those ramping and skipping pieces that you see with She-Hulk and Sunspot. You have the Kitty Pryde bounce for the Hope Summers to get that extra energy out there. Daredevil is able to reinforce Professor X and give some targeting, because then you can also look at your Quake as a potential turn 5 play for some surprise, because Quake and Storm are going to be great together for a surprise lockout mechanic that your opponent definitely will not be expecting. If you can Storm on 3, Professor X with a ramp out piece, this could be a really locked and loaded solid deck. Be ready for some chaos with this season. This is a surprise event. I'm incredibly excited for this limited time event. There are 7 days here. Which are your favorite Avengers? Which are your favorite X-Men? Who are you going to be adding more into your decks now because of this event and all of that extra power that these cards are going to bring to the table? I hope you enjoyed this one-take video. If you like this type of updated news and content, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. Thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.